Assembly, and of course in Bangladesh and in India and in Sri Lanka. But that is at a different level, perhaps not in the commercial field.
Just add that one has, in my career, 25 years now, I have seen the number of women coming through the system increasing in multiples. So it is beginning to happen.
Especially in the non-profit organizations. Very much so. The leadership of women in non-profit organizations doing social work, civil society is tremendous.
My question is, the largest corporations in Pakistan, like PIA, OGTCL, PEPCO, WAPTA, they're all suffering from bad governance. So what are 3 steps that you will recommend to the government to improve the governance, one, and what is the role of the civil society, like people like us, to sit idle and wait that somebody will come and fix these, or should we do something to fix these prized institutions? Thank you.
Well, I think you have touched an area of public corporations, and Mr. Zafar Khan, who was formerly, I think, of Engro, chief executive, and then PIA, and is currently a director of the stock exchange, and then currently on the State Bank of Pakistan, reappointed as a director for 3 years. He has done some research when he was PTCL chairman. PTCL, was it?
Yeah.
PTCL, and on corporate governance in public sector companies. But more importantly, we have some directors here of public sector companies. Would any of them like to comment? Yes, sir. I mean, we admit State Bank of Pakistan, of which you are a new director, duly.
No, I can talk from my experience of OGTC.
Okay.
Yes, what we find there is kind of but there is not a kind, there is an independent board. However, what we find there is that because the majority shareholder is the government, there is a lot of government interference in day-to-day affairs. And again, it goes contrary to the concept of good governance, that if they have appointed a chief executive officer, he doesn't really have the authority to take the decisions according to his conscience, and therefore in some of the decision making, that's where things start going wrong. And I think that's where the government has to make a call, that if they want to get this thing right, then allow the board to function properly.
I think you're making a good point, sir, but I think those who are interested can read Zafar Khan's report, which is available on the website, I believe, in some website. But the most interesting point and the least controversial is that nobody in these public sector organizations of which he was a director understood the meaning of time, of punctuality. And 1 hour, 1.5 hours is neither here nor there, which I suppose is the point of corporate governance. Yes, the floor is... Yes, Moeez Sahab, are you speaking from your experience of Karachi Stock Exchange or Privatization Commission or what?
I would say yes, privatization.
Okay, sir.
And the PSO and the NRL are also the examples. And like Waqar said, I won't say 3 things, I would just say 1 thing. If the state stops interfering in the business, things will go right. And here we saw also recently the PSO board, entire board was removed by the government. And then in PIA also you find the same situation, that they want to remove that. There is a corporate governance, and these are SOEs, listed SOEs. And yet they have to follow the code of corporate governance. And the majority shareholder, I mean, you see that the majority shareholder of Etisalat or others, if they don't do that, the stock exchange and the SCCP goes after them. But here the government is right in the center doing all this. So this is the big issue. To address this, there is a proposal before the government right now, is to have a code of corporate governance approved by the parliament for all the SOEs, either listed or unlisted. And this is something which is at the draft stage, and hopefully, one day it will be debated.
Inshallah, let's hope legislative time is available to the legislature for this matter. I think I should look around further and see who else would like to say something. If you have a comment also, not a question, it will be highly appreciated. We are coming to the closure. And we are 2 minutes from closure, so not even one more question. May I ask, would any of my panelists like to make a last concluding comment, starting with Dr. Saab?
Again, I'm a strong proponent of expectancy theory. People will behave the way you expect them to behave. I think as a nation, we need to grow up. We need to start behaving professionally. And if we do that, once our national governance is in order, I am very sure our corporate governance is also going to be in order, and we need to be moving in a positive direction towards national reconciliation. The major advantage of democracy is that it provides a event for steam to go off, and that's also hold for the boards as well. If you take a lid on this on the pot for too long, all of a sudden there is a burst taking place. And I think the boards, if they are measuring the right things, if they are measuring observing the right thing, people will pay attention to them. So good matrices for each organization needs to be well defined. They need to be monitored, and by and large slowly we're going to be moving over towards more professional boards as well.
Your concluding comment or comments, sir?
I'll just say stay optimistic, that's it.
Thank you. It's been very kind. Thank you both very much. Naqvi Saab, I'm sure you won't be that brief.
I'll be very brief.
No. We want to hear you.
Okay. Actually, on the public sector side, the point which you have raised is very, very relevant. In the public sector, there are two types of corporations. One are those which are listed on the stock exchange, and they are technically are supposed to follow and comply with the code of corporate governance which exists. And the other one, which are large corporations but not listed and are outside that purview. And that is one area which is being looked at. There's OECD principles of the public sector corporate governance which is being brought in as part of one of the conditionalities of certain funding which is coming in for the purposes of upgrading the governance situation. And hopefully, although we all don't like conditionalities, but at times they are blessings, and we may get some improvement in that particular situation in the times to come. But in the situation of a listed entities, the only situation which is possible and there, if you get a professional chief executive who's there and who's appointed by the government naturally, because they're the majority shareholders, and the board appoints it's not the government, but the board appoints the chief executive. And if he is strong enough, and I've seen examples, by the way, within my experience, if the chief executive has been strong enough, he's been able to upgrade the level of governance in those organizations. And the point which has to come is that we don't have to wait for the Kamran Khan to come up and release the stories of the corruptions or things like that. We have to have that governance coming up in a manner whereby the boards on their own are in a position to make sure that accountability exists, and the enterprises, because this is the more important one. Public sector enterprise is the more important, but every member of the society is an interest holder in those entities, and that's why I think governance is far more relevant there.
Thank you very much. It remains for me to have the last comment, and that is only to say thank you very much to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Saab, Sarfaraz Saab, Masood Naqvi Saab. Thank you all very much, participants. I hope it has been an enlightening session for you. For us, certainly, to have you with us has been a great pleasure. The questions and the interaction, thank you all very, very much, each of you.